Welcome in and welcome back. My name is Chowder, and today we will be taking a look back at one of my all-time favorite horror games, Cry of Fear. In this video, I will be going into detail as to why a game such as Cry of Fear, which as of this year is celebrating its 10th birthday, still manages to scare the chowder right out of me. Released in February of 2012, Cry of Fear is an indie horror title created by Team Psychscalar, a story of regret, suffering, and depression that casts you into a world of grotesque monsters and nightmarish landscapes. You play as a teenager named Simon who must grit his teeth and battle throughout the city of his hometown to fight off monsters, demons, and other scary creatures that constantly put his sanity at risk. With multiple levels that include puzzles, games, and monsters straight out of a horror movie, plot continues to follow our young protagonist as he moves along until he comes to the root of the cause of all the madness and things going on around him. The part that amazes me most about this title is one of the parts I adore the most about it. It's basically just a mod. The creators of this game used Half-Life 2's engine and assets to craft an intensely creepy and horrifying experience that evolves into its own masterpiece. Using Half-Life 2 as a base was an insanely smart move on the part of the dev team, as Half-Life 2 is one of the most iconic games of its time with an engine called Source that runs like a dream and contains a huge amount of assets for the devs to paint their picture. Adhering to the Half-Life 2 engine, assets, and mechanics, the developers were able to take out half of their production time and focus on creating the environment and story. For me, video games are typically divided into two basic components: your mechanics and your content. To speak plainly, how does your game play versus how does your game look/feel? Nailing these two concepts usually results in what is considered a good game. However, both of these things take major time and effort to pull off, and can even take a large effort even by major studios like Bethesda, Microsoft, and Activision. With multiple things having to line up and be executed properly, this explains why not every game that is created is a winner. With a solid base for the mechanics and assets, EP took this game to where it is now by implementing an atmosphere and gameplay style that rattles your bones. The game gives a constant sense of loneliness as you are wandering through an almost empty city with hardly anyone to talk to, minus the few cutscenes you encounter. Constant attacks by enemies while in this mindset only wears down your nerves further, dragging you through abandoned buildings, parks, and other usually crackhead-infested areas. Cry of Fear uses its environment to set you on edge as you attempt to survive. The enemies are all disfigured and grotesque, quite literally out of a nightmare as they shamble towards you at breakneck speeds. Along with limited ammo and measly excuse for melee, the game constantly puts you into a feeling of danger. This is one of the benefits of having a game like Half-Life 2 to base your mod off of. Creating these character figures must have taken a lot of time and effort, and with the manpower that TP had when creating this game was a saving grace to make sure that their environment and character models survived the scrutiny of the gaming community. Enemy placement is another key factor in this game, which doesn't take a lot of effort but pays off in the long run. The game alone itself, with its dated graphics, needed a lot to get you scared. In combination with the creepy environment and disfigured enemies that constantly attack you, the game adds another spook level by keeping them in different places and out of sight. Enemies will typically be behind doorways or in crevices in between walls, waiting to ambush you. With this precedent being set at the beginning of the game, another layer of fear is added on as you progress due to the fact that you have no idea where anything could come from at any moment. Last but not least, the music. Dear God, the music. Whoever composed this soundtrack for the game knocked it out of the park. With a perfect mix of eerie and melancholy sounds that can only be matched by a Silent Hill title, the melodies will further deepen the immersion you feel within this world. The music score is one of the elements that contributes to this game's longevity and how scary it remains with its dated graphics. All of these things together create a perfect umbrella for the gamer to play underneath and remain terrified and screaming for their mother. The freedom to focus on the world building and ambience of Cry of Fear, Team Psychscalar curated one of my favorite all-time survival horror titles. The emphasis and focus on games nowadays that have next-gen graphics and things to make them nice looking have watered down the modern-day horror experience. TP proved you don't need graphics to create an unforgettable experience. The devil is in the details for them. They trade the pretty pictures for grotesque monsters and jump scares. They used their time making the game to really solidify the elements they needed to pull this off, placing an emphasis on the emotions they want to put you through as the protagonist at every step and turn. This title is one of the shining examples of what can happen when your game aligns with its genre perfectly. 10 years under its belt, Cry of Fear will stand the test of time because the mechanics and atmosphere were painstakingly made to scare the living daylights out of you and take you into the mind of Simon. Well, that's our show today. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope you had a blast. I hope to continue to do another video in a series where we look back at older games and review how they've held up over time. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell as well to catch the rest of this series and other episodes we do on the channel. I will see you next mission. Chowder out.